let's face it, when you're great at almost anything, it comes with this fair share of criticism, fair or not. It's people out there who actually live to make lists, compare legacies, and pick arguments. But today, I want to talk about superstars who, in my opinion, have some of the most ridiculous narratives about their legacies. Now, before I get into this video, and trust me, I am about to go in. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications, like the video. All that stuff helps. We're so close to 200K, but I can't get there without y'all. So do it for me really quickly, and I'll definitely appreciate it. Thank you.
I love Shaq, but I'm disappointed in his career because I think he left a lot out. He didn't take it serious enough. He didn't get himself in the best physical condition that he needed to be in year and year out. He underachieved. He's a top 5 big man. I can't put him in front of Kareem. I can't put him in front of Wilt. I can't put him in front of Bill Russell.
For the most part, people consider Shaq the most dominant force in modern NBA history. We've never seen a player over 300 pounds actually nimble enough to move up and down the court at the level Shaq did. Like it was ridiculous. His averages were unreal and his accolades really can't be denied. But still, as you heard Skip and Shannon talk about, a lot of people regard his career as a massive disappointment. They say he was lazy, he shortened himself, he completely underachieved. And I always had a little bit of a problem with that. Now, let me preface by saying this. I will definitely agree that Shaq didn't completely maximize his talent. He didn't always take his job as serious as he should have, showing up out of shape, stalling injuries, kind of falling into the Hollywood lifestyle. I get that part. But in no way and in no world or galaxy can you call his resume a disappointment. First of all, look at it like this. For the first 8 years of his career, he played 6 of them against the greatest to ever do it. Not many legends won rings during that time span, not just Shaq. And one of the years that Jordan didn't fully play, he actually beat Jordan and took advantage of that opportunity. Orlando just didn't finish the job, but it wasn't really Shaq's fault. Second of all, you have to understand that Shaq's game wasn't really meant to last 20 years like Duncan or Dirk Nowitzki. Shaq didn't play finesse ball, he played bully ball, and his size was his biggest advantage. You know who I love to compare Shaq to? Rob Gronkowski. If you're a football fan, you'll understand that. Gronk, he's regarded as the greatest, most dominant tight end by a lot of people, mainly because of his size and his unique versatility. But what did that also come with? Injuries and early retirement, always being beat up. His style wasn't meant to last long. He just maximized his window. That's how I look at Shaq. And Shaq, he actually had a larger window than a lot of people give him credit for. He was pretty dominant from 92 to 06, and he made 6 finals and won 4 of them. So he maximized that window. Definitely think he could have taken the game a lot more serious, but with his size and his style kind of being tailor-made for injuries, stop with the whole underachieving thing because his resume speaks for itself. Derrick Rose's MVP is one of the most deserving MVPs in history, and I don't care how anybody feels about that. A lot of people, led by guys like this, they like to think that that year LeBron was somehow robbed of one of his 17 MVPs that he should have won. But let me briefly explain why I think this narrative is beyond stupid to me. When we look back at history, it is so easy to just completely stare at numbers, situations, certain storylines, narratives, injuries. All that stuff becomes burned info, and numbers are there forever, so we just stare at them. I'm convinced that basketballreference.com, that's NBA Twitter's best friend, and I'm convinced all of them are under 13 and they haven't even seen 90% of the stuff they type. Derrick's MVP year by the numbers, they look a little underwhelming in comparisons to LeBron. And yes, numbers don't lie, but they don't always tell the full truth. Please keep in mind, Derrick Rose was 22 years old, leading a team that just went 500 to 62 wins, which was the most in the league that year. Chicago had to play the Heatles 3 times, a Boston team that just went to the finals, and an Orlando team that just went to the finals the year prior. So they definitely had competition. All of this, and his second best player was Luol Deng. And yes, he had Noah, but Noah shoots like this.
Just, whoa. Oh, whoa. It was wide right. That's a Florida State player right there. Oh, my goodness.
And he missed 34 games. So basically his starting center was a 62-year-old Kurt Thomas. And for all the LeBron lovers who make it seem like winning the most games doesn't even matter, let's take a deep dive into LeBron's MVPs. LeBron's first MVP came in 2009, and he beat out Dwayne Wade by 102 first place votes. That year, I actually think Dwayne Wade had better numbers, but what set LeBron apart? The next year, LeBron won his second MVP, and you can argue that KD had very comparable numbers, but again, what set LeBron apart? Every year LeBron won it, with the exception of the lockout year. LeBron had the best record in the league, so it matters. Yes, LeBron completely embarrassed Rose in the playoffs with superior talent, but it's a regular season award, and Rose deserved it. Now, I know I just talked about LeBron, but don't get it confused. I love his game, and he's one of my favorite players. I truly hate when people say Ray Allen and Kyrie Irving saved this man's legacy. It's just not true. Now, the first reason I hate this, I just made a full video about this, so go check it out. It's a way deeper analysis. Just for a brief summary, plenty of role players hit massive shots for your favorite NBA superstars, so stop that. Also, let's not forget, in that Game 6 versus San Antonio, LeBron scored more than half of Miami points in the fourth quarter, so he put them in that position. Also, let's not forget, LeBron hit a very clutch three-pointer that literally put them in a situation. Imagine if he missed that shot. And against the Warriors, yes, Kyrie hit the shot, but again, LeBron had 11 of their 18 fourth quarter points in that Game 7, and he had one of the biggest blocks in NBA history, if not the biggest. So let's just stop that. Now let's talk about the real GOAT, Michael Jordan. The argument of the decade is easily LeBron versus MJ. This argument has encouraged LeBron fans to basically look at Jordan's competition and almost shit on it the same way they do Bill Russell's. But let's stop that and let's take a real dive into his competition and how bad it really was. First of all, in his first championship, yes, he beat a Lakers team without Kareem, but that same team just dominated a 63-win Portland team to get to the finals. And Jordan not only dominated Magic's Lakers, he almost beat Magic at his own game. He averaged 11 assists. Now let's go to 93. Michael Jordan won his third consecutive title, and people don't even talk about how good the New York Knicks actually were that year. Patrick Ewing put up arguably the best numbers of his career that year. The Knicks won 60 games, and they only lost 4 games at home. It's not Jordan's fault that he just dominated them. Then, in the finals, Chicago played a Phoenix team that had the best record, the MVP, and 7 players averaging double figures. And Michael averaged 41 points. I mean, it's just not his fault that he dominated, man. Now let's go to 96, when Chicago went 72-10. The Bulls swept a Magic team that was literally better than the year before when they just beat Chicago. They swept them. Nobody talks about that. Then they play a Supersonics team in the finals that a lot of people act like was just straight garbage. Y'all know that team won 64 games. That team had the Defensive Player of the Year. That team had just swept the defending NBA champions and held Hakeem Olajuwon to his worst playoff performance in his career. That team was pretty dominant. I know we live in 2020, and this is an era where we just stare at numbers, but that team only won 8 less games than Chicago. They only lost 3 games at home, and they got there for a reason. Then the following year in the Eastern Conference Finals, they beat a team that won 61 games. Then they went on to beat a team that won 64 games to win the finals. They beat good teams, bro. You know who else has the exact same problem Michael Jordan has? Floyd Mayweather. Nobody ever seen him lose, so they always discredit his wins. When you beat everybody, they have an excuse for everything. Manny was too old. Canelo was too young. De La Hoya was too dehydrated. Mosley was past his prime. Like, this is what happens when you dominate. The numbers don't lie. Those teams, they were pretty good. The Houston Rockets of the mid-90s, they're the most disrespected champions I've ever seen in any sport. You tell me another sport where a champion repeated and they don't really get recognition. I've never seen it. I just seen a tweet by Vernon Maxwell basically about how The Last Dance just gently breezed past Houston's dominant run like it didn't even happen. And I completely agree. People like to put asterisks by their titles because they have this ridiculous idea that Mike would have won 8 straight. And come on, man, that's just stupid. Now, obviously, we will never know exactly what would have happened, but we do have numbers and we do have facts, so I can form my own opinion. First, let's point out that Hakeem played Jordan 23 times and he won 13 of them. From 84 to 1990, the Rockets went 7-4 versus Chicago. In the games they played during Chicago's three-peat, the Rockets went 5-1. From 1991 through 1995, the Rockets went 6-2 versus Chicago. And from 1990 through 1999, the Rockets basically won the decade by 4 games. So that's just the facts. Obviously, that's just regular season games and it didn't count, but it can't be ignored. Now let's look at how they matched up stylistically. Houston, they honestly would have been the perfect matchup for Chicago. Unlike teams Jordan faced in the finals, Houston had the most dominant player in the league, not named Jordan, right at the soft spot of the Bulls defense. Bill Cartwright, Luke Longley, Stacey King, Bernard King, Dr. King, Martin Luther King, no kings. Nobody on that team was stopping Hakeem, and that was just that. And if Chicago did double team, which Phil Jackson didn't do anyway, that may have been a bigger setup for failure. In 94, the Rockets shot the most threes in the league, mainly because they had the personnel to do it. Kenny Smith shot 40% from deep. Scott Brooks can shoot from deep. Mario Elie had one of the clutchest moments of the 90s. Robert Horry literally made a career off of being that forgotten man. So offensively, they matched up well. Also, defensively, they did match up pretty solid. Remember that guy I told you that tweeted about Chicago? Yeah, Vernon Maxwell, he was pretty good defensively in the 90s. Of course, there's no stopping Michael Jordan. It's literally impossible. But having a loud, physical dude, literally nicknamed Mad Max for his temper, having him at least bother MJ on the perimeter, then having the best rim protector down low, that was a match made in heaven. Also, if you think Dennis Rodman was the man for Hakeem, you're sadly mistaken, my friend. Houston played San Antonio in 95, and Hakeem had to play against Dennis Rodman and David Robinson, 2 of the best defenders at their positions, and he averaged this. I mean, it was no stopping Hakeem, and I'm not saying who would have won definitely, but I think Houston could have got at least one of them. Steve Nash, over the years, he has slowly become one of the more disrespected legends. And honestly, I understand a few of his critiques because I have my own. I don't think he deserved to win consecutive MVPs. He was a defensive liability, but some people thought he was good defensively, and he never won the ring, so I get that part. But he was a legend. It's almost like nowadays, people use all of that criticism to make it seem like he's a glorified role player, and that just wasn't the case. This man had an immediate winning impact on his team, and is proven. Back in 2000, from the moment he got significant minutes in Dallas, he immediately changed their team. In 99, Nash came off the bench and he fought ankle injuries for the majority of the year, so he missed 25 games. The Mavericks were under 500 and they missed the playoffs. The next year, Nash actually got the start and they won 53 games. Nash had a breakout year and they finally made the playoffs. The following year, they won 57 games. The following year, they won 60 games. In his 4 years actually getting minutes in Dallas, they averaged 55 wins. You can't take that away from him. Then he goes to Phoenix, a Suns team that just went 29-53 the year prior, pretty much with the exact same roster, and they won 62 games when he came. That's why I really can't knock that first MVP. For his career during his prime, so basically the 2000s, the man averaged 55 wins. No, he never won a ring, but he definitely got his team in some favorable positions. Steve wasn't the most glamorous, crazy superstar, but he did achieve some pretty great stuff, so let's give him some credit. And lastly, and I saved them for last for a reason, the absolute worst knock on a legend's career, Stephen Curry. Some people have it made in their mind that this man never had a big playoff game or a big playoff moment. They make it seem like since he blew a 3-1 lead, KD joined the Warriors, he never won a Finals MVP. All this stuff equates to him not being clutch or something like that, and to me it just doesn't make sense. Let's really take a look at this man's postseason resume. Steph's real breakout year was 2015, the year he won the MVP and the year they won the NBA Finals. And they like to say that legends typically step up their games in the biggest moments in the NBA playoffs, all that stuff. That's where legends are made, right? Well, if that's true, look at Steph's MVP averages versus his playoff averages and tell me, did he ever step up? Also in the NBA Finals, they like to call this man the Steph Curry stopper. Steph had one bad game. Game 2, he shot awful. They lost by 19 and all that stuff. But if you take out that one game, these were his averages and these were his shooting splits. Tell me, did he not step up? Also, the game that really decided the series was Game 5. Cleveland and Golden State were tied 2 games apiece, and if Golden State lost that game, they would go down 2-3 back to Cleveland. This is what Steph did. In 2016, yes, Steph lost in the NBA Finals after being up 3-1, and you really can't defend that, and I'm not going to. But just take a quick look at the series before that. Golden State fell down 3-1, and everyone talks about Klay Game 6, and yes, Klay was great, but look at Steph's Game 5, 6, and 7. Look at his averages when his back was against the wall. Nobody talks about that. In 2017, when KD joined Golden State, obviously Steph's regular season numbers were going to take a hit, but look at the inflation in the postseason and tell me he didn't show up. This man was just as big. In 2018, when Golden State swept Cleveland, this man had one bad Game 3 that completely ruined this man's Finals MVP. But if you take out that one bad game, the man averaged 33 points, and in the closeout game, he had 37. So the man shows up, man. If you look closely, he actually has a pattern of his numbers going up as the stakes rise. So I can't say he doesn't show up because it's just not true. He's only the second small point guard to lead a team to a championship. So let's not forget that. If you guys like this video and if you guys made it this far, please leave a like. Please don't just leave the video, leave a like. It took me a very long time on this video. So leave a like, comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications, do all that great stuff, guys. And until next time, as always, stay tuned.